What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the 84 show. As always, I'm Arty 84 here on this Friday. We made it through the week, and what a week it's been. Before we start the show, I just want to put my condolences. A friend of the show and the family passed away on Monday. His name was Rich. He was young, 39, left behind a wife and two young kids. And thoughts and prayers go out to the family. And we're thinking about you here on the 84 show and in the 84 household. So my condolences to that. So the week has been an interesting week, starting that way off, and everything that's gone on in the news and the media this week. It's been a crazy week. So we'll get into a little bit of what I wasn't planning on doing a show about it. In fact, yesterday I did a quick little, um, a thought of about Jimmy Kimmel and what the whole circumstances are and the whole what I thought about him being suspended, I guess. So I guess essentially he's fired at this point. And I posted the video, and my frustration is I posted the video seeing both sides of the story, which I'm going to get into a little bit. And then I don't think people watched the video, and there's a lot of comments and stuff about the whole situation. And that wasn't the intention. The intention was to look at both sides of the situation and what happened and why it happened and express some personal stories that go within that and, come to a conclusion. That was essentially the idea of the whole post. It wasn't anything to take one side or another. It was to see both sides. At the end of the video, I actually agree with the people that say he shouldn't have been fired. He shouldn't be fired. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to go down a little story for you guys. While there's a lot of, what's the word? Conflicting, uh, hypocritic. Well, most people being hypocrite. That's the idea I'm looking for. And especially in the comedian realm, if you will, right? So, as a comedian, you have the gateway to tell a joke. If you don't like the joke, you don't have to laugh. You don't have to listen to them. You don't have to buy their products and stuff like that. You don't have to do that. But they're a comedian, and it's freedom of speech, and they can say whatever. You may think it's tasteless, and you may think it's not funny, and that's your opinion. And maybe in some cases it is not tasteful. You can't obviously go and threaten people. You can't say stuff that's crazy and out of the line. Technically you can, but there's consequences for that, right? So if you threaten someone, there's gonna be consequences. You're probably gonna have the police that you do, right? If you say something vulgar or unappealing, then you're probably gonna have people not buy your products, right? So, I mean, all these things have consequences. So yes, you have the freedom of speech, but private entities have the ability to fire you or not fire. So yes, ABC had the right to fire Kimball. Should they have done? I don't think so. They shouldn't have fired him based on that. Now I get it. So what happened was the president of Disney, who owns ABC, pretty much came up to him and told him he needed an issue apology because what he said was non-factual. He made a comment about the Kirk assassination that wasn't factual. Okay, that's fine. People make mistakes. He could have said what he said and maybe added, in my opinion, comma, I think, yada yada yada. But what he said, he said it as a factual statement. I'm not gonna repeat the fact. You guys can Google it and you can see what it is. But what he said it as a fact. Okay, so it was a lie. Okay, so what do? You go back and say, what I said, I apologize for. Now we have more information. That's not the way it is. But that wasn't gonna fit his agenda. And we always know he has an agenda. We do. I mean, you got to be. The whole network has an agenda. Should he have been fired for that? No, they should have just let his contract run out. I'm big on just letting the ratings do the storytelling for you. So if no one listened to him or watched him or liked him, they're just gonna stop watching him. You know what I mean? And that seemed to be the case anyways. If you look at the numbers, his ratings were dropping dramatically. So I mean, it is what it is. Okay, he was done at the end of the year anyways. Disney want to cut ties. They probably just save some money. Yada yada yada. Ideally, the president had no say in this. He couldn't go to ABC and says you have to fire him. ABC would go pound sand. It's a free country. We could have it where we want to hire it. It's our business. That's what they could have said if they wanted to. The ABC doesn't have FCC license like we talked about before. They have an affiliates that have the licenses. So every town you live in, some states have multiple affiliates of ABC depending on how big the state is. Some areas have smaller ones, some don't have any at all. That just use other states' affiliates, right? Especially when you get to New England with the smaller states. Um, so these affiliates are the ones that carry the FCC licenses. So what the FCC, you could take it both ways. You could say it as Trump was kind of wanting these companies to be better, but there's really nothing Trump could have done. And I honestly believe if he tried to pull any of these licenses, this would have went to the Supreme Court and would have got thrown out because it would have violated freedom of speech. Simple as that. And hold on one second. Yeah. The dog's trying to eat Halloween candy that we're hiding from the kids that we bought super early, which I'm not sure what about. This is where we're storing it, I guess. So, yeah, I do honestly believe if the FCC did try to fire him, or if the FCC tried to pull licenses from these affiliates because of Kimmel, they would have probably had to go to a Supreme Court and they would have been thrown out and they would have been able to get their license back because it would violate the freedom of speech. Now, I did discuss something. There's a caveat when you have FCC license, and I think I said 1939. It could be 1934. I was looking it up, and basically it was because if you're using public airways you have to give both political sides an even amount of time, right? This goes mostly with candidates. So like you can't just have the president on TV, 24/7 and not allow or even invite or give the opportunity to the other opponent to have any airtime. That's not allowed, right? So I mean, this is a very gray area, and it's a stretch in the matter of why they could have fired him or they could have got that license pulled. But I assure you, they weren't going to get their licenses pulled. You wouldn't hold up in court. You know what I mean? You just can't fire someone because you don't like them. It's against the First Amendment. The freedom of speech, right? You just can't do it. You can't do it. And I know, but they put a lot of pressure on them. And then there's people saying that they want to buy more networks, and ideally, the FCC is the one who approves it. Yada yada yada. The guy was gone anyways. So it doesn't really matter. ABC was cutting ties with him anyways. So what does it matter if they cut him now or they cut him 3 months? You know what I mean? So it is what it is. I, someone who does comedy and stuff like this, don't think any comic should be canceled for anything they say. If it's morally wrong, then yes, you should face some consequences for that, right? If you're saying something that's vulgar morally, if you're dancing on the grave of a dead person, yeah, maybe you should be, you know, like, oh, but but obviously it's the comedy club or the TV network or whatever that hires you that makes the ultimate decision from their morality, right? Now, a comedy club is an odd place because people go on stage, and I've seen all types of comedy over the years, and some's terrible, some's great, some have different styles of doing it, but you have the freedom to go up there and do it. Sometimes you're invited back, sometimes you're not, and that's all about the people that own the club. If you're funny and you're bringing in people, they want you there. But if you're not funny and you're being vulgar and you know potentially dangerous, they don't want you there. And I've seen that in a couple of cases too. In the Boston community, we have a lot of comedians in the Boston area that are very hypocritical when it comes to who gets canceled and who doesn't get canceled, right? Now, I remind you guys a million times, I'm very moderate. I'm more of a libertarian than anything else. But I'm a moderate that goes more to the right, slightly to the right on some cases. But in other cases, I agree with the left on a lot of stuff too. We're in the middle. Most of this country is in the middle. Most of the country is where I am right now. Most of the country is in the middle. And we'll go a little that way or go a little this way. They may agree with some stuff on that side, but majority of stuff they agree on that side, and vice versa. Okay? It's fine. It's okay to be that way. That's why we need moderate candidates. That's the problem. You need a moderate candidate. That's how Joe Biden won, because he ran as a moderate and he ended up not being a moderate. He ended up being a far left after when it was all said and done. But if he had ran as a moderate and then president, governed as a moderate, then he would have been probably a more liked and had a more successful term. When you're a moderate, you can get people from both sides because you're going to remember when you're passing laws and stuff like this, yeah, you may have the House by an edge or so, but the way things are so close and this country is so, you know, even, and that should prove it to you right there. When the election's like 50-50, people look at it and be like, wow, they're so divided. Well, they're not really not divided. There's people, the election was so close. It was a matter of like one or two things that you liked from one guy to the other person, or in this case, one guy to the other woman. It just a matter. I like that a little bit more, so I'm gonna go this way. I like a little bit more in this way, right? And maybe if you're torn, you go with your political party. Maybe sometimes I don't know. Sometimes you don't. I don't know how people vote, but that's your business. It's none of my business how you vote. What do you think? Here I am to listen to you. I'll be more than welcome to listen to how you feel about a certain subject. Go on your soapbox and preach. Go ahead, bro. Go right ahead. You have the right to do that, and I'll show you the respect and listen, and I'll give you my opinion. You know, so that's most of us are like that. But I was going back to the comedian community. They're very quick on canceling comedians in the Boston area because they may tell a joke that they don't like, right? So you'd be in these groups online and they gang up on all these other comedians. So if someone said something in a like, and this happened multiple times, and they go and they bash the shit out of this person and they try to pressure these comedy clubs and bookers not to book them and stuff. But then you have a situation like Kimmel, I keep calling him Kimball, I don't know why I can think of Kimmel, who does the same thing, and they're all up in arms. They're getting canceled. So the hypocrisy is ridiculous with some people. Like you're either gonna be all the way in and all the way out. I was always the same. I support the comedians. Hey, listen, you're a comedian. You're telling a joke. People may not like it. Okay, that's not their cup of tea. Maybe someone does. Eventually, if no one likes it, you're not gonna have a job, right? Simple as that. But if people do like it, or if there's some people that do enjoy it, whatever. So I feel like the people who are just vulgar and like whatever, do what you want to say and say what you want to do. Just don't be threatening or hate or sometimes it's hateful, but I mean, sometimes that's part of comedy. But as long as it's not threatening or you're a menace to society, society or the whole comic realm will ease you out, right? If you will, by yourself, you'll disappear. You can't continue doing something like that. No one likes it, right? It's as simple as that. You can do it all and all and all, but if no one's listening, then you're just not gonna have anything to do, right? So it doesn't matter, right? At the end of the day, so just let it be. You have a lot less stress in your life if you just let things go sometimes. Don't get so worked up about it. People get so worked up online. It's crazy. Why are you getting so worked up on online for? You just don't have to. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourself. Stop it. Relax. Take a breath. Right? So the hypocrisy of these comics, supporting Kimbo for getting mad because he's canceled, but then turning around and trying to cancel all these comics because they tell a joke they don't like at a club one night, or they're telling a joke about someone they support or something like that, and then they try to get them canceled. Right? That I don't like. That is bullshit right there. I'm sorry. That is not right. You can't be one this side one day and you can't be this side in this one day. You just can't because it shows that you have no credibility. Stay consistent with your thoughts. I've been consistent with my thoughts 100% of the time. Yes, I may not like some people, but that doesn't give you a right not to be able to do what you want to do, right? And I shouldn't use the word like because I like everyone. I just don't prefer someone maybe, or I don't prefer something that they do. As all humans, I do enjoy humans, but there's some things that certain humans do that I don't enjoy or like. I guess I'd say enjoy is a real bad word, but like I guess you could say, right? Or approve of, if you will, right? So that's the mentality just going to. So I just want to address the hypocrisy of the comic community because it is super annoying, super, 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 super annoying when they go and bash one person and then someone does something on the other side and they support them. And I use the word comedians very, 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 very loosely. I guess a lot of people think they do one open mic, they're a comedian, I guess. I don't know. There are more people in these comedy website groups that just sitting there, they just pretty much they're just a bitch and stuff, and they have no really, I don't know, what's the word, sense of the art, I guess. You know what I mean? They did one open mic once and they consider themselves a comedian, I guess. You know what I mean? Whereas like me and some of my buddies have been doing this for 15, 20 years at this point, right? So it is what it is. Whatever. If that makes you feel better at night, makes you sleep better at night, go right ahead if you want. But I just want to calling out your hypocriticalness of what you say about certain things up there in the whole comedian world, if you will. And you deal with it all the time too, because even when you start out or, you're trying to get into new shows and stuff like that, and they don't let you in because they don't like you, because they don't want you in, you know what I mean? A little hypocritical right there. If you're doing a show, shouldn't you be having a show that kind of touches all areas, I guess, of comedy? I don't know. That would be my opinion. I hosted and ran shows for years, including podcasts and online radio shows, in which I invited every comic on. I've never denied one comic. You can go back and see the archives to the Arty and Eric days. We have like 250 episodes there. The adult entertainment years, that show I did with two other comics that were completely different than my views, 100%. They were super liberal, super, super. Like they were lefty, big time. I was more of a moderate, but we had moderates on, we had conservatives on, we had uh, liberals on, we had everyone on. I'd never ever told a guest no to come into the show, whether I didn't agree with them or not. I've had guests come on my show and then bash the shit out of me after the fact online. We talked about it briefly in that little post I did about trying to take me down because they didn't like something I said or some contest we were running or kind of the views of our show. That's fine. You didn't have to do the show if you don't want to, but you did it. And we welcomed you. We never ever said anything bad to you. Once we had a guest walk out, and it wasn't even because it was anything political. It was one of the guys on the show was going off on some like crazy narrative about something, and the guest didn't feel comfortable. And we're like, oh yeah, absolutely. We didn't say anything. They left, and it is what it is. It happens sometimes. They didn't prefer to be in that situation, so we didn't make them stay. Right? They did their own thing and did their own, did what they had to do. That's just fine. And that goes way back like 10 years ago when we were a little more edgy than we are these days. But, it is what it is. What can you say, right? And they had the right to do that, and we had the right to let them leave. Simple as that. Okay? Stop the hypocrisy. If you're going to be one way, be consistent. Nothing shows better character in a person than your consistency of how you handle every situation, right? If you're one way, and one way the other way, it's not. I don't know. It doesn't make you look good. Okay, I respect people who stick to the guns, and if they're gonna be that way and they're not giving in, good for you. I'll give it to Kimmel. I will give it to Kimmel that he wasn't going to apologize. Okay, should he have apologized? Probably. What he said was not factual, yes, but he obviously believed it. He obviously believed that was the right thing to say. Obviously, he died on this. He died on it. That's what that was. That's the cross he died on right there. Not apologizing. His boss, on the other hand, said you have to apologize or you're going to lose your job. That would happen to anyone in the workforce if you were doing something in any job you ever had, whether it's being a teacher, whether it's being a construction worker, whether it's being a lawyer, and you went against ethical guidelines that your company doesn't prefer having association with you with, and you didn't apologize to do something about it. Sometimes they don't even give you an opportunity to apologize. They just fire you. Bob Ego was given Kimmel the option to go on air, say the facts that I said were incorrect. All he had to do was say the facts were wrong. I'm sorry that I said the facts are incorrect. I still believe, he could have went on and did his own opinion piece, and that would have been fine. But he didn't want to do it. He stuck to his guns, and good for him. I give him that. I don't think he should have been fired for it. I think he should have, let the ratings work itself out, let people feel the way they wanted to feel. But he stuck to his guns, and it's very admirable that he was like, I'm going to die on this. He might have not. He knew that time was coming up anyways. He knew he was only had a few months left. He goes, figures you might as well go off of a bang. He certainly went off of a bang. So, it is what it is. I don't think it's the government controlling speech. I really don't. I think it's the guy who owns the company was telling him to do something and that he didn't do it. The government wasn't going into ABC studios and pulling of all the affiliates and pulling the switches and stuff. And, and we're here on the internet, right? We're all on the internet. The internet, 90% of your media is coming. I use the word 90 grossly because it's a large number. I don't know it factually, but most people are using the internet. The only people that watch or listen to terrestrial radio or TV, I'm telling you, is the 65 up community. I'll find it very hard that I have ever turned on any of the major networks unless there's a sporting event on or some kind of like show or something they have to see. I don't watch those channels. I've never watched those channels in years, unless there's a sporting event on, right? And it's 3 channels, really. I guess 4 if you count Fox, but Fox has a cable entity. And so this is the thing, too. Here's the thing that even drives me crazy. All these networks like NBC, ABC, and CBS, I'll have cable channels as well that don't fall under the FCC guidelines, right? So you have like Fox, you have FX, right? It's owned by Fox, but it's a cable, so you can do whatever you want. You don't have to follow the FCC because it doesn't get broadcast over the airways, right? NBC has MSNBC, right? Now, MSNBC is a little bit different because it's a news network, and news networks have to follow a certain protocol. It's mostly for terrestrial, but I don't know how that falls into any cable type programming. But I don't think it does. So I think they can just do whatever they want. They have been doing whatever they want, and whatever political side they want. That's fine. So if ABC really wanted Kimball around that long, they could have just moved them over to one of their cable programming, right? CBS owns Paramount, right? That's what South Park's on, right? Comedy Central's part of the Paramount network, right? CBS, all the same shit. Comcast, NBC, whatever the hell it is, right? Comcast owns a cable company, but then he also owns channels too. So that's a little. You tell me that's not a little conflict of interest right there, especially in certain areas. But whatever. I don't deal with that end. I don't know much about the business end of studios and affiliates and communication businesses. That's not my expertise. But I don't know. If they really wanted Kimball that bad, they would have just moved him somewhere else. But listen, Kimball's going to be off here on regular ABC, but we'll stick him on one of our cable affiliates, right? I'm not sure what. I know they used to own ABC Disney. I know they own Disney, ESPN, I guess. They could stuck him on ESPN, I guess. I don't know. I don't run the network. I don't know where to stick these people. But, you know, so all those people thinking I'm so happy that Kimball got fired. I wasn't a fan of Kimball. I haven't watched him in years. Last time I watched him was on the Man Show, and that was about 15 years ago. I think even probably longer than that. Yeah, 20 years ago, probably, right? I don't know how long he's been on ABC for. I think it's been about 20 years, 2005 maybe. But I do think that people just need to chill out. I think if you're gonna go and say one thing about a certain thing, you should be consistently saying that for both sides. Don't be hypocritical because there's nothing makes you look more of a fake person than being a hypocrite, right? So if you're gonna say that he should keep his job, then when someone else on the other side does something like that, you should keep your job. But it didn't happen that way for a lot of the Democrats because there's a long list of all these, people that were canceled, because they said something that was against the left wing, right? And some of it was vulgar. Some of them might have constituted a firing, right? But some of it was just them supporting a person, right? So, like, if you were a celebrity and you supported Trump, say, right, you were blacklisted. Well, how was that right? No, you should be able to support who you want, right? But it didn't fit your agenda, so you don't like him, right? So that's the biggest problem I have is hypocritical people. I can't stand hypocrite. Liars and hypocritical people are the two things I hate the most. Just be honest on both aspects. Be honest about how you feel. Be honest about what you're saying. Morally be honest, right? And stop it with all this craziness in this world, right? Of all you crazy people out there, stop it. Take a deep breath. Put the computer or iPad or iPhone down for a second. Get some fresh air. Go outside. Maybe read a book. Watch some non-political affiliate entertainment, right? Enjoy life. The one thing I learned and have been learning as I get older is life is a precious ball that at any time can end. And you just don't know when. You could just not wake up the next morning. Just imagine that. No matter how old you are, you could just not wake up one morning. And that'd be it. Game over. So you should enjoy the life you have while you're here. Right? Enjoy life. Enjoy the people around you. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your friends. If you have kids, enjoy them. If parents are still around, enjoy them. Don't let political and social topics get in the way with these relationships. It's not worth it. I see people that don't talk to family members because they voted a certain way. How does that person voting for a certain person affect the relationship you have with them, right? Brothers and sisters, mothers and kids, right? Because what they believe in and what they do, you don't like, so you're going to cut ties off of them. This goes for both sides, too. Instead of just appreciating that they have an opinion and end it there. No one says you have to discuss things, right? That's the worst too. Don't bring stuff up then. Don't talk about it. There's plenty of other things you could talk about, right? And chances are it's one or two issues in the whole entire boat. They're not all on the same thing, right? It's like one or two things that someone may not like in your family that you may like. Just don't talk about that one thing. That's all you got to do. And I don't want to put it out there with anyone, but it's mostly you boomers out there. I'm sorry. I love you guys, parents and grandparents out there. But it's you guys. You guys are the ones, you know, holding grudges and causing the troubles most of the time. If you go on Facebook, it's a cesspool of boomers who just will say shit to strangers for no reason. They don't even know them. Try asking them a question. Try to be like, why do you think that way? It's funny. So someone posts something, say, I don't agree with that, but how do you see it that way? And see what they say. Because it could be a good chance they don't even know why they say it that way. And that's one of the points I made up the other day. I went on this rant about if you're gonna post something online, back it up. Don't just see something and say, oh, that goes towards my agenda and post it. I would honestly tell you to go and try to do some research. If you see something on there, Google it a little bit, check some other sources and see what's going on. Because it's chances are what you see had been manipulated somehow. And you're going to look like an idiot if you're posting that stuff, spreading around because someone's going to call you out. If you do see something like that and it is manipulated and you do feel like you have to share it, then add your own commentary to it and be like, listen, I don't know if this is 100% true, but, this is an interesting fact that I was thinking of. I go through Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all this stuff. You could see who's looking at your stuff. I could see who's on my page. I could see who's viewing stuff. Everyone can. Any person that has a page can see that stuff. We see it all the time. And more likely than not, the people who are out there posting crazy stuff out there, or stuff they haven't back checked, or stuff you may not agree with, or just stuff in general, aren't looking at anyone else's stories. They're not. All they're seeing is they're cruising through their news feed, and the algorithm and AI says, well, you must lean this way, so we're going to send you a bunch of shit this way. And you see something that you like, but you didn't even read into it. Just a headline said something that you like, right? And you share it. But who are you sharing it to? Your friends. So you're forcing stuff to your friends' face. Are these really your friends? Right? Like, if I had a friend who kept on bringing up political stuff every time I hung out and I didn't want to talk about it, I'd be like, dude, enough. And eventually it won't be your friend anymore. So these people on Facebook are just jamming this shit down your face. And it's just like, all right, well, I know how you feel. You don't have to keep reminding me every 5 minutes. And in fact, I'm very annoyed by the fact that you keep posting incorrect shit. You're not doing your homework on it. It's really annoying. It's as simple as that. Stop posting stuff online that's anything political. People should lay off the political stuff, period, online. Period. I'm guilty of it in the past, but I've been trying my hardest in the lately to not do it because it just doesn't solve any problems. It just causes problems, right? Post positive messages. Daily, I've been trying to post something positive, something to inspire people by, something to listen to people by. People can listen, but listen, yes, people listen to that. Makes that no sense at all. Inspire people and for people to listen and be inspired by things I say, I guess you could say. You could say. How many times can I say in a sentence? It's Friday. It's the end of the week. Excuse my grammar. It's not as sharp as it would be on a Monday. It's been a rough week, too, dealing with a lot of stuff and, just trying to get through like we all try to get through. We're all just working 9 to 5s. Some of us are working crazy shifts. Some are working multiple jobs. Some of us are trying to raise and support families. We're all just trying to move through this rat race of life. And like I said, most of us agree on a lot of stuff, more than stuff than you even know. So let's keep it that way. Why aren't we keeping it that way? Just keep it going. Yeah, you may think of something different that way, and I may think something different that way, but we agree on most of the stuff. You just don't know that because you never ask. You know that? I can't tell you how many times I sat down with someone who started talking about something political. And in their rant, instead of going on offense and trying to bash them and try to justify my reasoning, I would say to them, why do you think that? Why do you feel that way? Right? It gets them to stop their rant for a second and You kind of see into the head. Well, if they're going off about one thing, and I don't know. I don't want to go into examples because I don't want to open a can of worms here. But if you stop and ask them why they think a certain way, I guarantee they'll cool down significantly real quick. They'll give you an honest answer. And then you could say, oh, yeah, well, I agree with that too. A lot of times it happens. I'm telling you, more 9 times than none. I want this to happen because I feel bad for certain people, yada, yada, yada. And I think they should have some kind of blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so do I. So we agree on that. You may agree that the tax money should fund it. I agree. I don't think tax money should fund that. Maybe private companies should fund it. Okay. We don't have to agree on that particular aspect of how it's done, but we agree to disagree. Simple. End of story. I don't have to say, well, blah, 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 and you have to start attacking each other and being insultive to each other. No one wants that. That's ridiculous. Please stop that, people. Please. With the insults and stuff. Strangers. Stop insulting strangers. Stop attacking strangers. And stop buying into all these clickbait crap they put online for you to look at, right? They do it on purpose to get you riled up and you're falling in for the trap. Trust me, I know. I'm guilty of it many times. But like I said, it takes a little bit of just self-control not to do it. Because I have friends, very close friends, that some of their ideologies are different than mine. And if you just seen what they posted, you would think they were so far on the other side, there's no coming back. And most of the time, if you have a constructive conversation with them about why they think certain ways and everything like that, you can see where they're coming from and respect that. And as simple as that. And you don't have to go any further. You don't have to hate someone for doing that. You don't have to block someone for not agreeing with you, right? And the same with Kimmel. You didn't have to watch Kimmel if you didn't like him. I didn't watch him, so I didn't care for him. That's my personal opinion. And who cares? So I didn't watch him. I didn't want anyone to be fired. But if you have a problem with Kimmel getting fired, I suggest you call Bob Iger and ask him. He's the only one who's going to give you an answer why. Whether it's the right answer or wrong answer or the truth or not, I don't know. But that's what you should do if you really care that much. I'm telling you. And you feel a lot better about yourself than making accusations. The president can't fire anyone from a network. He can't pull an FCC license because there's someone on the air that you don't like. I'm telling you, you can't do it. He may try to do it. He may attempt to do it, but the Supreme Court will throw it out. I am telling you, it's a open and shut case of First Amendment rights. Unless Kimball went on air and started telling everyone to go outside and do something terrible and burn down cities and do all this stuff. Some stuff that politicians do say in a certain way on certain networks on both sides. But because they're in cable, they're protected from any of that. But if any of them are on those 4 major networks and doing that, yes, they could get in trouble. That person, Aaron, the company Aaron and owns the licenses can get in trouble because it's part of the FCC. And I'm telling you guys, don't worry too much because FCC may be a thing of the past. Because little by little, less people are watching and listening to terrestrial media. By the time I'm 40 years old, 41, by the time I'm gone in this world, there may not be terrestrial radio and airwaves anymore. Everything will be digital. I mean, I'm telling you, if the satellite system of like Musk with the mobile internet that he has, Skylink, I think it's called, something like that. You could broadcast on there from a car, from Antarctica. You could have internet in the middle of a friggin' desert somewhere. So as long as you can do that, as long as you could receive media, you can shoot out media. So there's no one to be able to control those airwaves. And that's the way it should be. But these people that do run the platforms do have the right to take down certain media that their company doesn't approve. YouTube is a little more strict of what they put on. Rumble is a little more lenient to what they put on. Okay, but that's their decision. And if someone goes on one of those those types of media, and they do something or say something terrible, and it causes someone to do something or do something terrible based on what they had on there, that company is going to be held liable for not taking that video down, right? As well as the person who made the video should be held liable, right? Because that's the law. You're breaking the law. You showed someone how to do something, whether it was legal or not. Like if I went online and Googled how to make meth, right? And YouTube gave me a video of step-by-step instructions how to make meth. And then I made meth. And then I went and started divvying it out to kids in an elementary school. This is a real crazy story. Something will never happen. But and then I get in trouble for that. And then the cops go, "Well, how did you learn how did you get this?" Well, I went on YouTube, I learned how to make meth, and then I watched this other video that told me how to distribute meth to an elementary school. So I'm in trouble for committing the law. Those two videos, whoever created those things, could be held liable for making that video. And YouTube, who posted and let that video stay in there, could be in trouble for allowing that on their platform. I don't know. It's open and I don't know how people get confused by this. Yes, those people have the right to make a video and do all that stuff, but there's consequences to sometimes doing that. And you just got to understand there's consequences to everything you do in life. You can't walk into a movie theater and yell fire. You can because it's First Amendment rights, say whatever you want, but it has consequences that go to that. You're causing a riot, right? We all know this. We all learned this stuff when we were kids. I don't know why we're adults. We forget this stuff. Stop it. Take a deep breath. For you people posting political stuff online, stop it, please. No one gives a shit. We know how you feel politically already. We really do. Trust me. We know. You're not surprising us, if anything, right? How about you show pictures of your kids, your animals, your family, your vacation? Something positive. Maybe every Friday you go on there and you just write something positive. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Let's go Pats. Right? Is that so hard to do? It's not hard to do. And you guys can do it. You guys are good. I know you guys. Most of us are good. There's a lot of us are good. There's a few bad seeds out there, but most of the people are good. I know maybe I agree 100% by everyone out there, but deep down inside, you're a good person. You're all sons and daughters, dads and moms, brothers and sisters, children of God, if you will. And let's treat each other like that. Let's not be angry at each other. And I don't want to preach or get mad at anyone. I want you guys to realize that maybe sometimes we need to take a step back on life. Just relax a little bit. Don't get so worked up about stuff you read online. Be more concerned about your life first, and then whatever you read. It's the same people that post it over and over again, right? I get it. You're not convincing it. I don't understand why people post stuff. You're not changing anyone's mind. I've never seen something that someone posted politically that made me want to change my way of thinking. I'm sorry, it doesn't happen. You're wasting your time. You're just making yourself look bad, too. Making yourself look like you're some kind of crazy, speak person for something. You know what I mean? And if you don't have a public account and you're just doing it on your private Facebook, then you're really being kind of an asshole because you're only broadcasting to your friends. And your friends already know how you stand politically. And then you have friends that don't agree with you. You're just jamming it down their throats, and you kind of being an asshole about it. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I get you don't like that. I get it. You're pro-abortion. You're this, that. I get it. That's fine. That's how you believe. I know this because you post about it every other day. You're not changing my point of view on anything you think. And I'm not saying I agree with abortion or not. I'm just using that as an example. But I see it all the time with the same people. And my wife and I have the same discussion. Like, why do they even bother? Like, they know who they're talking to. Now, if you have a public account where anyone can access it at any time, it's a little different. It allows you to find an audience that maybe someone will listen to you, some maybe not listen to you, some might agree with you, some may not, some may disagree with you, but start creative conversation. Perhaps if you're mature. There's a lot of immature people out there. My theory is social media won't be along very long. I think this is a thing of a past. I think as the boomers die out, the younger generation, the Gen X and lower, the millennials and lower rather, aren't really using Facebook. No, they'll rant on Twitter, but you gotta remember, half those are bots, half of it's AI. You may be talking to someone that's not even real. And people get in these full blown conversations with it, and it's sad, and it's true. It's some people these things aren't real sometimes. You know what I mean? And I'm sorry you think they are. A lot of Instagram accounts, one follower, seven posts, they're not real. And a old co-host of mine, Adam, had made a great point. He goes, "We're eating ourselves alive. All these other countries are looking at us. China and Russia are looking at what we're doing here as Americans fighting against each other, and they're sitting back in their chairs saying, "Well, we don't have to do anything to defeat this country because they're defeating themselves." Every time you argue or get angry online, you're helping China and Russia out. You're We're eating each other alive here. And they have to sit back and they have nothing to do. They're waiting for society to fall over here so they can come in, swoop in, and do whatever they do. And they're already doing it underneath our eyes, and we don't even know it. So little by little, China's buying pieces of land that's attached to or near Air Force bases, right? Russia's coming in, doing whatever they're doing. They're doing it in front of us, and we're just letting it happen because we're too busy arguing with each other. Stop listening to these politicians. Stop getting your information from what network. Sit back, take a brief breath, and make a decision for yourself. And that's all I can say. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I will be doing a surprise show. We're gonna be airing it. We're gonna record it on Saturday, but it's gonna be air on Monday. From a surprise location. Follow me on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. I guess it's X now. I don't really post much on X, but mostly Facebook and Instagram. You'll find out where I'm gonna be tomorrow. And we're working on a couple of videos that has nothing to do with this site, but some other things we're working on. And we're going to do a few things. So stay tuned to that. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. And I will see you guys soon. Have a great week. And I'm Arty 84 for the 84 show. We'll see you soon. Bye.